Hi, it's Scott Hamilton, Rockfile, and I haven't done a music review in a while, and I'll tell you why. Last year when I started podcasting, one of my plans was to do these elaborate music reviews where I could put clips in and stuff like that because I see other people doing that. And I tried it, and I got the music removed, and I made my appeals. I sent them letters from record labels that says I'm allowed to do that, and I was told I couldn't. And I'm like, okay. The record labels say I can use it to promote the bands. That's all I was doing. I wasn't selling anything, that kind of thing. And that's the deal that is with radio stations. It's one of those known things that we get the music for free because we play it to promote it and sell the music, but we don't sell it ourselves, obviously. And that's why radio stations get free copies of albums, music early, interviews, backstage passes, or whatever. That's the hand scratching the other one's back, hand washing the other hand, whatever. That's just always been the way of radio. Radio and record labels work together to promote these artists and songs. So I stopped doing music reviews because I couldn't put music in it. And now that I'm moving to YouTube, it's going to happen really soon now because I upgraded my camera. Yay. I just kind of need to get my setup better. But anyway, so I'm investigating how that's going to work and maybe getting new letters from the record label saying it's okay for me to do such because there are a lot of people reviewing music on YouTube and such and in podcasts that have the clips in it. Don't know why I was censored and they're not, considering that I put links to all that I can do. My radio stations have been around for 8 years. My media company's been around for 8 years. It's, I'm an established radio station trying to promote the artists. So anyway, that was a long intro to say I finally completed my Black Sabbath collection on CD. And I know Scott's going to talk about physical media again, but it sounds better. It does. Physical things sound better than streaming, look better than streaming. It just always will be that way. Sorry, because of compression and things like that, and that's a whole nother podcast. But anyway, a couple years ago, I started picking up the Black Sabbath Rhino remasters. Now, the Black Sabbath catalog has been remastered several times, most notably the Black Box that came out. And those were okay remasters, but I never picked up that set because reviews were like, And I had original versions that Warner Brothers originally put out, so with no EQ and original transfers, and they sound good. They sound their age. So anyway, I've done a couple reviews where I've talked about, I think, number 4, Sabotage, when I picked that one up. I had been going to Walmart, and they were in the $5 or the $7 bin. And I was like, okay. And they've been out for a couple years, and they're starting to go out of print. So I had picked up all the ones I wanted. There were a couple I couldn't get. Dehumanizer was a later one. I got that off Amazon. But almost all of the early stuff, from the debut album all the way up through when Ozzy left. And Heaven and Hell. I got all the Rhino remasters because they're better remasters. They just sound better and A-B comparisons with what I had. And the record labels had also sent me MP3s of them when they came out. So I did comparisons to and it just sounds better on CD. And I rip everything to lossless so I can play them digitally. I'm not so much a caveman. I have to put a disc in. But I'm telling you, if you rip something at a high-resolution file, say 9624, or even just a flat, just giant WAV file, you're going to get as good sound quality as vinyl, if not better. And those high-resolution files are getting more detail than vinyl ever could. So you can look up those tech specs if you want. So I finally got I picked up all the ones I wanted, but I couldn't find Master of Reality. This is one of my favorite ones, and Walmart never had it. I put it in my Amazon wish list, and if for some reason it was like $25, nobody could get it, so the price, jumped up there. And then it went out of print. Then nobody had it. I couldn't get it on eBay for a decent price. I couldn't get it on Amazon for a decent price. Walmart stopped carrying it, and I moved away from Walmart's. And so anyway, it's been in my Amazon wish list, and a miracle, it appeared in my wish list with a price on it a few weeks ago, a couple months ago, and the price has been coming down slowly. And finally, the other day, the price dropped to that okay, that's what I'll pay for it. And it came in, and I got to tell you, wow, what a flashback. These Rhino remasters come with booklets. I've talked about that before. That is part of the price of admission. For a kid who earned the name Rockfile in college, because growing up I read all the liner notes on every album I ever had. Hotel California, Queen, News of the World. I would pull these albums out while listening to them, and I would read the lyrics. And when I get to the instrumental parts, I go read the other parts, who they thanked, who was on the album, who produced it, who mixed it. And you read enough of those, you start realizing that this guy is a name. This guy is an engineer. This guy played on multiple albums. This guy produced multiple. And so that's how I built my knowledge of music before I got into the radio industry and knew it professionally. And so to get these Rhino booklets that have details that I didn't even know, I've been in radio for a long time. I worked at a classic rock station for a long time. If there's a factoid about a classic rock album or artist that I haven't heard, it's pretty rare. And all of this time, I assumed at the beginning of Sweet Leaf, it's Ozzy coughing, but it's Tony Iommi. Maybe I heard that before at some point, but the booklet makes that very clear that it's Tony Iommi in that tape loop that opens up Master Reality Albums in the first track, Sweet Leaf. So I haven't listened to this in a while because I was waiting to get the CD and really, dig into it. I did A/B comparisons with the original version I have. I did comparisons with the MP3s the record label sent me when this album was first released back in 2016. And then I put my lossless files into it. And just looking at the waveform in I use Adobe Audition to edit these things. You can just tell there's more stuff and better dynamics when you go directly from CD than a streaming source or an MP3 source or something like that. So anyway, getting into the album, there's a couple of short instrumentals. So the album is not very long. There's a couple of instrumentals that connect into, and that's something that a lot of rock bands and a lot of bands in general would pick up on later in life. But Black Sabbath at this time was recording 2 albums a year. That's what you did back then. You released an album, you toured, you released another album, you toured, and it was very prolific time in most genres, especially rock and classic rock, because rock was still coming out of the 60s, and this was 1971, and things were still. I was 5 years old. I remember this. I remember things at the radio, things at the drive-in, things on TV, things like that. But I didn't live this era as much as people who were 18 and older. And so rock, metal, especially metal, was becoming a thing. And that bands like this were working that hard then. That's why we have all this great work, because they were collecting all these experiences of touring the world, and this was a band from England who finally got to come to America and finally got to play in front of big crowds and see a little bit more of life. And I've told you in previous podcasts, I've had a visitor from the UK come and visit the United States for the first time and spend a week seeing it through his eyes and how much bigger everything is here and things like that. It's an eye-opening experience. So imagine what it's like for a band in 1971 to finally tour the world. It's wow. So the Black Sabbath was at a creative peak. They were rising in popularity with every album and tour, and this album comes out and just knocks it out of the park. Not that it had big radio hits, but Sweet Leaf, After Forever, Children of the Grave, Lord of the World, and Into the Void became staples of the Black Sabbath catalog, and that's leaving out 2 instrumentals and, 3 instrumentals, short intros. Pretty much every track on this album is known by Sabbath fans to be strong songs. And for all those people that called this band a devil worship band or whatever, do you know that they only wrote 1 song about the devil in all of their albums? Well, at least while Ozzy was in the band. At least up to this time, let's say that. Lord of This World was the only devil-related song in most of their stuff. If you listen to their other things, they're quite positive. Sweet Leaf is a love song to marijuana, and it's everybody's going to love it. Funny, 1971, here we are in 2020. More states than not have recreational or medical marijuana. How about that? So anyway, if you have any interest in revisiting Black Sabbath's catalog, I highly recommend the Rhino remasters if you can get them. You can usually find them for $5 to $7 online if they're still in stock at most places, Walmart, Amazon. I even found a couple in Best Buys. They have these bins in the store. They're not so much online these days with music, but anyway, if you can pick up the Rhino remasters, there's just more details coming out. Ozzy's vocals have always been kind of front and center in most of these mixes, but I'm hearing things with guitar, bass especially, and some interesting things that Bill Ward was doing with the drums and some of the overlaid tom things and how they stand out with a different sound quality and add something different to the song. It's just, when I pick things, new experiences out of music that I've listened to most of my life. It's just, I don't know. It's like reading an old book, but you forgot about part of it, or watching a movie and you didn't remember it right, and just being surprised at it all over again. It's just a wonderful experience, and that's one of the things I love about music, one of the many, many, many things I love about music. So I'm a Black Sabbath fan because, man, they are the cornerstone for entire genres of music that followed them. There were other bands doing this kind of grungy metal sound, and I hate to use the word grungy, but that the guitar tone and the down tuning and things like that. But, you know, Sabbath set the tone. And every metal band that's come after has to give props to them. I'm sorry, but, you know, if you've never listened to Sabbath and you're a metal band, dude, get some Sabbath, figure out where it came from. And this was also a point in their career where they were experimenting with mellow songs and different sounds and things. And I love where they went after this. I think it was a very fertile period for Black Sabbath, and Master of Reality fits in that catalog wonderfully. It's a great album. And the booklet, nice, thick, like 30 pages of stuff about the album and the time and the concerts and the tour and the stories. Just a treasure trove for $5 to $7. Pick it up. What are you waiting for? Black Sabbath, Master of Reality. It's a classic from 1971, reborn with a great 2016 remaster, and I finally got mine in 2020. I'm Scott Hamilton. I'm Rockfile. Thank you for checking out my links below and listening to this podcast. You rock.